reality is that the movement we all know is away from the hospital and into the home. And we're very interested in being part of, one, the dialogue, and two, potentially a solution in this area. And that's why we felt it was important to bring a group together to kick off and talk about some of the challenges. The top 5% of patients, the very complex patients within our hospital system, on occasion going through roughly 50% of the total expenditure from a hospital budget.
Most people, even in today's highly cynical and sceptical age, most people that go into medicine and go into nursing and go into health occupations tend to be motivated by a high spirit of a commitment to caring for people, to doing the right thing, to participating in healing people that are ill. That's quite different to the people that end up running the hospital on the most part. And that ethos, which are numbers and metrics and how to make the system work and procedures and incentives and motivations.
The Australian government spent almost $42 billion more in 2013 in real terms on health than they did a decade ago. And the biggest and the fastest growth spending category is in hospitals.
The issues in the hospital system are that there are people in those beds who would be better treated either in primary care, so they didn't need to be in hospital, or in subacute or step-down facilities, or in rehabilitation, or in mental health in the community. So maybe about 20% of hospitalisations could have been better dealt with in another setting, which is really the big challenge. The other thing with inefficiency is that we don't really understand what's driving healthcare costs up as well as we should. We say it's about ageing, we say it's about population growth, but about 50% of increasing healthcare costs is what we call volume of care per case. So we're doing more to people, and it's really understanding whether what we're doing, the more we're doing, is it actually giving a better health outcome? Is it actually delivering value for dollars?
So we've developed a comprehensive program in collaboration with a very large integrated delivery health network in the US, based primarily in Arizona, called Banner Health. When we look at the event rate, what we've seen is that hospital days have dropped by more than 50%, and the all-in costs of care have gone down by about a third. And so that translates into about $1,000 a month in reduced claims, and that compares to an all-in program cost of about $400 a month. I think that there are some organizations that say they want to change but don't prepare themselves to change, don't invest in the mechanisms that are responsible for successful change, and that we know that not everyone's going to jump on the bandwagon and say, isn't this great and wonderful? And if you're not willing to manage the change process in its entirety, you're not going to be successful.
My question is, I've been pissing this patch for most of my professional career. I think there's some hope that I can get together a coalition of the community providers and the hospital providers for 1 million people here in Sydney to trial some of these models. I'm not saying I've got it all sorted or it's not without risk, but I'm familiar with this stuff. I think I can manage that. How do I pitch to you? How do I pitch to your counterpart in Canberra to get you to come and play, to support the expertise that I've got on the ground to try and put some of these concepts into practice?
But look, I think that when you're talking purely about the political approach, then I think the message needs to be loud. It needs to be directed not just at policymakers but at their constituency. And it needs to be based on two things: improvement, simple things, improvement, improved outcomes, that you'll get better health outcomes, and improved efficiency, you'll get better dollar outcomes.
We actually made such a pitch to the state government here not that long ago. It didn't happen. I think the issues are political in the way that the system is structured and funding and the fragmentation of that. And until that's fixed as per the recommendations that Christine shared in that committee, I don't think that we'll get much beyond these kind of sort of small-scale pilots that we and others are participating in today.
For Philip's part, We obviously want to be part of this conversation. We're very invested in getting part of these clinical transformational programs that actually address population health and those complex patients. We're also very interested in going down the pyramid. I mean, we heard comments today about it's not just about those folks that are very sick today, but how can you prevent those folks that are going up the pyramid from going there. I would challenge the politicians and the insurance companies and others who part of the whole reward and carrot and stick process to engage in this fully, because as you've already heard, the incentives are incredibly important. I think we can't do this sequentially, we have to do it in parallel. So I think it's really important to work on the transformational care models as well as look at the various kinds of incentives that drive the right kind of behavior, because we've definitely seen it in the States that if you don't have that kind of incentive, people will continue to behave the way that they're currently behaving. So with that said, thanks very much for coming.